I think somewhere along the line, we have conflated humility with self flagellation. And what I mean by that is, I've seen in my own life and I've seen in the lives of other people, they feel like they're being prideful if they're not beating themselves up. And it's like, you do not have to beat yourself up. Yes, we are our own worst critic because we often are first in line when we see the goofs and the gaps that we make in life when everybody else is like, I didn't even see that happen. Like, what are you worried about? But then we beat ourselves up because we don't want to come across as prideful and egotistical. And so we swing the pendulum too far the other way. And so I I try to share this with people because I had to have my own awakening when I realized I'm beating myself up because I want to give what I think is the appropriate amount of societal, oh, he's not prideful, he's not egotistical, he's humble. And it's like, that's not humility. That's not humility. True humility is the act of serving someone else in a way that, yeah, you don't get anything back, but it's also firm, it's solid, and it's not, oh my goodness, I'm just, like kowtowing all the time.
Welcome to the Kindness Factor podcast, sharing life-changing personal stories of the transformational impact of deep kindness. Hosted by
Dr. Elia, the happiness doctor,
and Randy McNeely, the kindness giver. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to another wonderful episode of the Kindness Factor podcast. I'm Randy McNeely, known as the kindness giver, joined by my wonderful co-host, Dr. Elia Gourgouris, the happiness doctor. And we are privileged to have with us today a wonderful man by the name of Michael Fritzius, who shall be forever after known as Fritz. And he is just an amazing guy, and he's the founder and owner of Podcastify Me. Elia is going to share a little bit more about Michael because he's got multiple hats that he wears, and then we're going to jump right into a great conversation.
And Fritz, welcome to our show, first of all.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So Fritz is a multipreneur, which I like that. But more importantly, because we're all very family-based here, he's a father and a husband and has 4 beautiful girls. So I love that. And I love the sign behind you, we love you. But that's looks like one of your daughters made that. Did she?
Yeah, one of them, a couple of them actually collaborated. They made that for me for my birthday this past February.
Very nice. He also runs a full-service podcasting agency, like Randy said, called Podcastify Me, and also runs a clean lifestyle company with his wife, Charlotte, called Exactly Zero. I want to learn more about that, too. And all 4 of their girls are growing to be entrepreneurs themselves, and he enjoys bringing his whole self to life every day, growing himself and the people around him. So, Fritz, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We really appreciate you being here with us today. And so we have a quick question for you. Obviously, this is the Kindness Factor podcast, and what we focus on is asking people who come on our show to share with us inspiring, maybe life-transforming experiences that they've had with kindness. Some experience that you've had that stands out to you that you would like to share with our audience.
Wow, if I had to nail one down, people are kind to me a lot, and it's not like, oh, I got one of those faces that you can be kind to. It's just I continually put myself in situations where people are just really, really nice to me. And the one that comes to mind is the first time someone in my career took a noticeable risk on me. So I came out of the financial sector, I came out of the software testing and automation sector years ago. And I didn't realize at the time that I was launching into a career, little baby step at a time, into being an entrepreneur. But my first step was go from being a full-time W-2 employee to becoming a contractor. It's like, ooh, super scary. Oh my goodness. I interviewed at a place, and in that process, they said, well, here's what our challenge is. We need automated testing written for this system. It's written in this computer language. And I told him, I said, you know, I have not ever written anything in that language before, and I've never done testing like this, but I'm willing to learn. And they said, yeah, we know you're willing to learn. You've got the chops to do this. We have no doubt that, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but you'll knock it out of the park. We know it. And that guy's name was Srinivas, and he was my boss for about a year. And he was the one that just the just the kindness of taking risk when, yeah, he's putting his name on the line. Like if I mess up, well, it's gonna look bad on him. But he took a risk on me, and he gave me the latitude to learn as I go, gave me enough time to ramp up. And within a week, I had knocked out something that multiple people had tried and they weren't able to succeed at. So I'm like, yes, I got some street cred for the software testing team that day. But what an amazing display of kindness that he would put his reputation a little bit on the line in order to give me an opportunity to succeed.
It's a wonderful thing when somebody believes in you, and you haven't really proven yourself yet, and then they have that confidence in you. It's like, you have what it takes, I can tell. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to hit it out of the park.
Yep.
That will stay with you for the rest of your life, Fritz. No question about it.
Well, and so
Will,
the thought that comes to my mind is how did that impact your confidence going forward? How is that still impacting your confidence?
Well, the way it impacted my confidence was I trusted myself a lot more after the fact. I had to figure out some downright dirty ways to achieve the challenge that they put before me. And I had to learn some stuff on the fly really, really quickly. I tried every trick that I knew. I had to learn tricks. I had to learn new ways to learn tricks. And it was, I don't know if you've ever seen people that do software development. They have this state of mind called the flow. I think a lot of backgrounds have it, but the flow is just, you can't divert them. You can't distract them. It's almost like they can't even hear you. You're just just typing constantly, and results and data and information was coming out. I'm like, okay, we're onto something. I'm nudging it forward. But it gave me such a realization of I have a lot of tenacity. I have a lot of persistence that I didn't realize I had until my back was against the wall, and I could develop that confidence in myself. And it's like, hey, I can actually mash the pedal on life and business and faith and learning and everything, and trust that it's going to be okay. It might be a little bit owie. You might have to learn some dirty tricks, one or two or 12, but you'll figure it out. You always do. You've never gotten stuck. That was my first instance of that, and it has not been the last.
Actually, one of the toughest questions is to what we ask at the beginning of the show is to come up with one kindness experience, because most of us have had a multitude of experiences like that. It's hard to come down to just one. But how do you pay that kindness forward in your life, whether it's your family, your extended family, friends, or total strangers, if you will, in both professionally or personally? How does that play out and continues to play out in your life?
Yeah, well, it's the same energy, just like somebody invested their trust in me without, they don't really have a good way to measure ROI yet because they've never done this before. This is my first time. And so giving myself the freedom and the latitude to invest at least that much trust in other people, that's how I pay it forward. It's like I remember how I felt when somebody invested that trust in me, and I knew because I had that weight on me, it's like this is a great gift. I have to use it the best of my ability. What am I going to do? Drop it on the floor? I don't want to do that. I want to make this guy look bad. And I find that when I invest that trust, it's a moment of growth for me. Like, yes, I'm putting a little bit of my reputation on the line if that doesn't end up going according to plan, but it's not the end of the world if it falls apart. And they know that. I make sure that anybody that works with me, whether they're a full-time employee or a contractor or a virtual assistant, I make sure they know, hey, you're not going to screw things up so bad that it's just going to like be a world-ending catastrophe. Like the business is not going to fail because you sent an email at the wrong time. Be kinder to yourself. And I'm giving you the latitude and really the sandbox to play and learn and grow and achieve and really push your boundaries. So it's amazing. It's like a ripple effect. It's just, that's how I pay it forward all the time.
So, a couple interesting thoughts coming to my mind as we're talking here. First of all, that experience that he shared was actually more than one kindness. If you think about it, first of all, he showed trust in you. That was a kindness. But he also asked you to do something that was hard and that was going to stretch you.
Yep.
And the fact that you had to stretch and learn all the, what did you say, the dirty tricks or whatever, really reach and push yourself to learn how to do what you did, that was a kindness to you as well, because it expanded your experience, expanded your mind, it expanded your abilities to create in a language that you hadn't done anything in before. It opened up multiple avenues for you that weren't there before. And so that's the first thing that came to my mind. The second thing is, you mentioned at the beginning, you have 4 daughters who are working to become entrepreneurs. How has what your experience played out in your working with them and teaching them and helping them to become entrepreneurs?
Well, the way it's played out is realizing that they're all different. I know that sounds super, like, obviously they're all different. It's like, well, I guess some parents would go into this thinking, oh, it's 4 girls, how different can they be? Yeah, they're all wildly all over the place. And just like working with employees, just like working on a team, working with people in a consultant capacity, everybody interacts differently. And so, yes, you can cater to each one of their gifts, but the real power comes from how can we team up a couple of them at a time to achieve a much more powerful result. And so teaching them about understanding, well, what are your gifts? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you love doing and why? What do you not like doing so much and why? And do you maybe have a sister that likes to do that instead? And it's ended up shaking out into an amazing process. So some of the products that we make for our company, Exactly Zero, we actually get kind of an assembly line thing going. I unfold a table and put it in the kitchen or in the living room rather, and we just get all the ingredients dealt out and we sit in a ring and we just pass the stuff around because each one of them is really, really good at a particular part of the process. And we get through stuff quick. Like if it was just me doing it myself, it would take 2 hours. Together, we knock it out in about 12 minutes. It's crazy. So teaching them about the reality when it comes to creating a business, you're making something out of nothing, and that's okay. You don't have to run out and get a job. You don't have to work for anybody else. You can craft your own thing. And I was just thinking about this the other day. I can't really remember the last time one of the girls has said, oh, when I grow up, I want to do this kind of job. I want to be this kind of person. Like they used to want to be hairdressers or vets or preemie nurses, but now they're thinking, I want to open my own floral shop. I want to start my own cutting garden. I want to make things out of crochet and yarn. And it's like, when did that happen? I can't remember when the last time was I heard them say they wanted to grow up and be a certain kind of role. They're thinking of things they can create, things that they can like mold in their own image. It's amazing. I don't know when that transition happened. I probably should have paid more attention.
That's beautiful because you have 4 budding entrepreneurs.
Yes.
One thing you said earlier on that actually I want to come back to is when you said whether I'm talking to my employees or virtual assistants or you use the phrase that, nothing that they will do will be so dramatic that it's going to be catastrophic. And then you invited them to be kinder to themselves.
Hello, I'm Randy McNeely, co-host of the Kindness Factor podcast and co-creator of the Kindness Factor Human Interest series. Thank you so much for listening. We sincerely appreciate you. So here's the question for you. Do the guests and the messages we're sharing resonate with you? If so, we'd like to invite you to join us in our efforts to spread love through kindness around the world. You can do so simply by visiting our Buzzsprout subscription page at the link listed in the description and taking out a monthly subscription. You can pay up to $10 per month. Your support will enable us to continue to deliver great content and to take our message to a much broader audience. Remember, with kindness, everybody wins. Thank you for your support.
And I love that message, because isn't that the crux? My experience, as a psychologist and as a happiness expert, and with Randy as the kindness giver, is that people are really struggle with being kind to themselves. And that reminder, whether it's a daily reminder or a text or an email or a hug and just a little whisper in their ears, hey, just take it easy on yourself a little bit, I think it is something that we need to continue to do, both individually and collectively, at every opportunity that we have, when talking to our loved ones or our employees or our colleagues or our customers. That's something that we can't say that enough. That's my take. So what are your thoughts about your statement, be kinder?
I think somewhere along the line, we have conflated humility with self-flagellation. And what I mean by that is, I've seen in my own life, and I've seen in the lives of other people, they feel like they're being prideful if they're not beating themselves up. And it's like, you do not have to beat yourself up. Yes, we are our own worst critic, because we often are first in line when we see the goofs and the gaps that we make in life, when everybody else is like, I didn't even see that happen. Like, what are you worried about? But then we beat ourselves up because we don't want to come across as prideful and egotistical. And so we swing the pendulum too far the other way. And so I try to share this with people, because I had to have my own awakening when I realized I'm beating myself up because I want to give what I think is the appropriate amount of societal, oh, he's not prideful, he's not egotistical, he's humble. And it's like, that's not humility. That's not humility. True humility is the act of serving someone else in a way that, yeah, you don't get anything back, but it's also firm, it's solid, and it's not, oh my goodness, I'm just, like kowtowing all the time. Like, that's not humility.
Yeah, there's a certain sense of false modesty. I always dislike that when people will do that, because they're doing it consciously, and rather than saying so. And I was taught this by a wonderful friend of mine. Last year, I organized in some weird way, because I'm not an organization king at all, to bring 20 really good friends on a sailing trip to Greece from the United States, and just pulled it off. 3 catamarans, 3 cabs, and all that stuff. And throughout the week, there was a lot of expression of gratitude, and to the point where it made me a little bit uncomfortable. So they were like, well, you brought us all here to this paradise. We're having an experience of a lifetime. Like, this is a life, altering, and and I was like, well, we did it. And I guess I must have done that like 2 or 3 times. So one of them pulled me aside and said, listen, and she did it with love, though. When people love you, you're changing their lives. You give an opportunity to see things that something, was a bucket list thing. So when they say this to you, they mean it. They're sincere about it. So from now on, when they say that, just say, I receive that. And just to go, I receive that. And don't add anything. Don't say anything else. Don't pull yourself down in this kind of modest, oh, well, we all did it together. It's not like, no, you did it. You're the one that brought us to you. You're the one that invited us. And I said, I don't want to hear anything. She was like chastising me. So for the next 4 days until the trip ended, I had to learn a new skill, which was, I receive it. Thank you. I would like, I receive it. I would be like, thank you. I receive it. It was different. I've never done that before, but that I have actually maintained that. It's, it's been several months since the trip. When somebody pays me a compliment, now I'm like, I receive that. Thank you so much. That's all we got to say. We don't have to pretend some false modesty or pretend and it was very helpful to me. So that's one way, at least, to be able to avoid this kind of false modesty, but also receive the compliment, the love, the kindness that's extended to you. So anyway, that's what I learned, this past year. It's been very helpful.
I love it. So was it weird at first when you were like, I feel like I should do more than this? Like, it took, how long did it take for that weirdness to wear off?
And I'm good at receiving compliments for the most part, but at some point it became overwhelming when you have 21 people saying every day, thank you so much. At some point I'm like, no, we did it. We did this. We created this together. We manifested this. And I guess I did it 3 or 4 times in front of everybody else. So she pulled me aside and taught me something. It was good for me to learn that. And it's become easier now. But initially, awkward,
Yeah.
very awkward. It didn't feel right. But it's okay. I've learned. We can all learn stuff.
We can absolutely all learn stuff. And so I want to learn. I've got that's a segue into the next thing I want to say here. It's just, you see that fuzzy ball in front of in front of Fritz, the fuzzy microphone cover.
Yes.
That is one of his daughter's inventions, is it not, Mike? Fritz, am I correct in that statement?
It is. Yep. Amelia makes these. These are handmade mic covers by Amelia, and I dare say they make me sound awesome. I thought about doing a thing where I pull it off and I start talking through my nose like that, and then I put it back on and I sound like this again. I ran that idea past somebody and they were like, "That's an awful idea." I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably right. Thank you. I received that." But
you're a quick learner.
It's weird for me at all, man.
Go.
But she's been making these for about a year, and I still remember the first time I sold one of these. And there was a guy who was a podcast guest on one of our client shows, and he said, "Can you make me one of those?" And I'm like, "Well, I won't, because I don't know how to crochet. I'll tangle my fingers up." I said, "But my daughter makes them. How much do you charge for them?" And I'm thinking, great, I don't know how to price things. I said $35, and he said, "Sold." I said, "Well, man, I should have said 45." But she made one. I said, "He wants gray." I said, "You got gray?" She's like, yeah, I got gray." I said, "Great, make it happen. Here's $35." And she's like, "So cool." Like, she just saw dollar signs. But she makes these things, and it's amazing because she knows that every time she makes one, it gets shipped out. It goes somewhere out in the world. Other people are seeing it. They're seeing these fuzzballs. Like, "Where'd you get your fuzzball?" "Oh, the good." And it's like, it comes back to her, and it works amazingly well. So it's giving her that confidence. It's a form of kindness that we're doing with her. And we have different thingies that we do for all of our daughters. They all have some different endeavors that we're saying, "Hey, let's tease that out and see what we can do to make that happen."
I did notice it because I've never seen it before. We've done so many podcasts. I've never seen that before. It's really cute, actually.
Yeah, we got multiple colors, man. I've got.
Oh, show us.
Like,
Wow.
I don't know if you're a fan of Star Trek, but they're like tribbles. They
Oh,
just
yeah.
fly. They're
Yeah.
everywhere. But I've only got 2 on my desk. But I mean, I got a box of like 20 of them. I got black, white, red, pink, purple, green.
And what does it do to your voice?
gray.
I'm kind of curious, actually, when you say it, your voice sounds better.
Take it off. Let's hear your voice without it for just a sec.
Well, I mean, what it does to my voice mainly is it's a pop filter. So if I get close to the mic and I go, I mean, you're going to hear it, right? But because of the yarn on here, and it's not nearly as loud. So if they call them sibilants and plosives in podcasting. So if I say the S sound or I say the P sound, it mutes it pretty well. But it also does a great job of muting any extra noise. Like, I hear them out there every once in a while. They get crazy. The door kind of bangs and stuff. And it's like, man, I can hear that. Can they hear it too? No, they can't, and
Interesting.
it really helps to minimize the noise. But yeah, she made a prototype of this a couple of years ago, and she was making them out of they make a kind of yarn that if you wanted to make scrubby pads, like for pots and pans, you make it out of that. And she made one, and she's like, "That was terrible. That hurt my fingers." And then she ran across this eyelash yarn. She started making it out of that, and she's like, "That's a lot more fun to work with, and it looks cool too."
It does
Nobody
look,
asked me
that's
about it back when
remarkable.
I had the old one. Yeah.
That's remarkable. So from we're looking for 3 pearls of wisdom, 3 things that you know in your heart that you've applied in your own life with your girls, with your wife and your employees and in the people you've interviewed and so on, in terms of kindness, things that would be inspiring perhaps and applicable. To me, that's the most important thing. It's like whatever we talk about here is how can we apply it. So what's your number 1?
Number one goes back to what I said before about being kind to yourself, and to extend that further, when you feel kindness coming into your life, it's okay to open up and accept it. It's not selfish at all. It's not, "Oh my goodness, gimme, gimme, gimme." It's like, that is nourishing to the soul to receive kindness. And
Yes.
how often, I don't regret, like, looking back on my life, it's like, yeah, there were times when people were kind to me, and I was like, "No, please, I can only have so much." And I don't regret that because that was just a moment of growth for me. I didn't know that receiving kindness was something that I could do. And it took me even longer to realize it's something I should do. So that's the first one. The second one is along the lines of the abundance mindset. There really is a lot of kindness out there. And if you find yourself listening to this and you think, well, there's no kindness where I'm from, like back in my day, rob, it's like, well, change your location. You're not a tree. If you're not in a position where people are being kind to you, move. Get around people, increase the quality and the timbre of the people that are around you, and the kindness will come. There are some beautiful souls out there that love to be kind, and it's not like they're losing something by way of being kind to you. They're actually gaining, and you're gaining too, right? The third thing, if I had to if I had to come up with a third one, I can only come up with two. But the third thing would be when you are kind to others. It may seem small for you, but it is huge to other people. And you may not realize, like you may never get a return on kindness, like a return on investment. Don't expect one. Just keep casting your bread on the water. Um, it'll come back in some fashion eventually. It may not be right away, but it may also come back in a wildly different way that you never would have expected, because every time you're kind to somebody, just like I was talking about Srinivas back in my first contracting role, he was kind to me. I remember him to this day. He's an awesome guy. But when you invest that kind of kindness in other people, it's going to have a lasting impact. And they may never tell you about it, but just trust that every single time you're kind to another person, it's making an impact. They're going to remember you. And that's kind of a way to leave an immortal legacy, if you think about it. Those are my three nuggets of wisdom about
Yeah,
kindness.
and I love them. And it's kind of funny that you kind of struggle with the third one, but the third one to me is the most profound actually of the three, because so many times we do something and it's may come easy to us. It's not a big deal. It doesn't cost a lot of, maybe no money or no time or whatever. And then later on you find out. So you think it's like, well, that was not big of a deal. Of course I would do that for you. And then they tell you the impact that it had on them. And the impact is always far greater than what you thought the impact was going to be. So I really like that you added that on. So do acts of kindness. The ROI is there, whether you hear it or you never find out in this lifetime or whatever. Trust me, the impact is greater than what you think, always.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
I'm going to add a little on to that. I've shared this story multiple times. When I was a teenager, I had a good friend of mine who when I was going through a real struggle and I was really down on myself, she said that, some really kind words to me. And, I said, I bet you think I'm pretty stupid, huh, to her. And she said, oh, no, I don't. I think you're pretty neat. I mean, there's a lot more to this story, but that's the crux of it. The reason I bring that up, because she had no idea. She had no idea at the time how that was impacting my life. I left, went into a bathroom and cried because I had no idea at the time how much I needed to hear those words. I had a chance to talk to her. My wife and I, some 20 years later, my wife and I went to dinner with her and her husband, and we got talking about, old times in junior high and high school and stuff like that. And I brought up that experience, and she didn't even remember it. She was, she didn't remember that she had said anything to her. I said, you have no idea how that experience with you telling me that you thought I was neat impacted my life.
Yeah.
And I've shared that story. I told her I've shared that story with a lot of people and impacted them and inspired them because of your kindness. And so love those nuggets. Thank you so much, Fritz, for joining us today. We so appreciate you. We appreciate you, our audience. We want to invite you, if this episode has resonated with you, if what we've talked about today has resonated with you, to like and subscribe to our channel and to share what we've spoken about and talked about with as many people as possible. But before I go any further, I need to ask Fritz, how can our audience get in touch with you, connect with you if they so desire?
Oh, that's a great question. Best way would be to email me. And whether you want to talk about podcasting or you want to talk about clean lifestyle, how we got started, how cancer in 2012 affected our journey, which, oh my goodness, it seems the opposite of kindness, but it's not. God was kind to us. Reach out via email. It's Fritz at podcastify.me. So that'd be the best way to go about it. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your story about how kindness has impacted your life too. Tell it on this podcast first, of course, but then when you're done with these guys, come talk to me. I want to hear it.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I know I've also found you on LinkedIn, so that's another way to connect with you as well. But
Yeah.
it's been great. Congratulations on your 4 budding entrepreneurs in your family, and that's awesome. And enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks for being on our show, Fritz.
Thank you.
Thank you for
guys.
being on our show. And thanks again to our audience. Remember to like and subscribe. And if you found this useful, share it with as many people as you can. And remember, as you go about your week with kindness,
Everybody wins.
thanks for joining us.